This is Teekosey Boxing, and today we're talking, is David Haye cashing out on his career, or will he knock out Tony Bellew and proceed to the top of the heavyweight division? So I've had a bit of a break on this channel, been busy working on a number of other projects, but I'm back and I'm looking to creating some regular content here on this channel. So if you're new to my channel and you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you do, jump down to the comment section below and let me know that you've subscribed, and I'll come by and say hello. Likewise, if you've got any comments, jump down to that comment section, hit me up, and we'll start the debate there. So, as I say, this is all about David Haye, Tony Bellew, the second fight. Now, I'll openly admit that in the first event, I was backing David Haye. I thought it was going to be a fairly comprehensive, one-sided fight. I thought that David Haye was going to be too big, too quick, too powerful, too skillful. And what happened actually on the night was a fairly interesting bout, and it was one of the most exciting heavyweight fights in the last 2 years, but mainly because of the injury to David Haye and how he dealt with it. That created the excitement. It really created the excitement because once the viewer, the audience knew that David Haye was injured, we thought it was going to end fairly quickly, but it didn't. It did not end quickly, and it posed the question in our minds: can Haye last? Can he detonate that big bomb, or is Tony gonna wear him down? Okay, so effectively, we know that Bellew won. He got the stoppage. I think it was somewhat controversial, and I'm sure there were people telling me, no, it wasn't controversial. Tony won, and he won in convincing style. Now, I have to disagree with that. And I'm sure people will be telling me I'm a Haye fanboy and all that sort of nonsense, okay? Now, you have to pick one side if you've got any form of opinion. And the side that I chose was David Haye, okay? But when I look at that fight, I always like to look at fight. I try to look at fights in an unbiased way, score them subjectively, or I try to be unbiased. Okay, I look at that fight, and yes, I will honestly accept that the first couple of rounds were very disappointing from a David Haye perspective. I mean, yeah, most people thought he was going to go out there and blow Tony away, but he looked slow, he looked sluggish, he was missing shots, and fans of Tony will say that Bellew was making Haye miss. I don't know, maybe he was, but there was just something about David Haye that just did not look right. He looked like he'd aged, he looked kind of bigger, and he had that, he's always got that phenomenal physique, but it looks like the old man's physique. You know when you see an old geezer in phenomenal shape, it's kind of there, but it's a little bit saggy. And David, even though he's only, 35, he started to get that look, okay? And it kind of worried me. It kind of worried me that, yeah, he was just missing. It was missing. He did not look good in the first couple of rounds. But by the time we moved into the controversial round, I think it was a fairly even fight, okay, in terms of scoring it, in my opinion. We get the injury, and of course, you're going to give that round to Tony Bellew because he went all out, and he continued to go all out. And it looked like he basically he completely blown it, because he looked to me like Tony Bellew was gassed out, because after that we had 2 rounds that, despite the fact that David Haye could barely walk, he kind of started to impose himself in the rounds. And I think it was round 9 that he actually won the 9th round. I think most people will agree that David Haye won the 9th round. Okay, that is incredible. It's incredible to think that David Haye won that round when in the 6th round, I think it was the 6th round, was the injury. He had an injury that he needed to operate in, and he could barely stand. Yet a couple of rounds later, he's winning a round. He's winning a round against Tony Bellew. That's pretty phenomenal. Okay, I know that it basically ended pretty shortly afterwards. He got knocked through the ropes. But what I would say is that he got knocked through the ropes. He had a serious leg injury. He still managed to get up and back into the ring. Okay, which is amazing. Most people, we see it all the time. People get knocked to the ropes. That's basically it. Maybe it was fortunate that he landed and he was in a position to be able to get back into the ring. Obviously, if they fall down to the ground, it's very, very difficult to get back in the ring. But he managed to get back in, and it was the towel that was thrown in. And like is always the case, as soon as I see that towel being flown in, the first thing I'm thinking is someone's getting sacked. Someone is getting sacked, and that's the case. David Haye changed trainers shortly after in preparation for this fight. Okay, I mean, it's one of those difficult questions. When the towel gets thrown in, you have to say, was David Haye getting seriously beaten up? I would say probably not. I know he got knocked out of the ring, but you got to appreciate the balance was completely off. It was completely off, and he was struggling. He was struggling to stand. But was he getting beaten up? Was Tony injuring him and really hurting him? I would say probably not. And I think it could have continued. And would David Haye have won the fight? I think he probably wouldn't. I think Bellew probably would have been capable of seeing out the last round or so, collecting sufficient points, and winning because of the knockdowns and being knocked out through the ropes, all that sort of thing. He would have been able to get enough points. He would have won. Okay, and for me, I think he probably should have been allowed to go that way. The stoppage, I always think sometimes the stoppage is lame unless the fight is in serious danger. Okay. A bit like when we saw, like the other week, there was the Daniel Dubois when he completely sparked that chap out. And realistically, he shouldn't have been allowed to do that. It's a bit like some years ago, you had that Enzo Macronelli, I forget who it was. And he was getting absolutely lit up. And then the referee allowed the fight to go on. And the guy just basically ran through him with a punch. It just completely turned his lights off, which was disgraceful. This is something different. But anyway, so we're moving on to the second fight, and I'm watching the press conference, and it does not look like David Haye is enthusiastic about this fight. You look at his body language, his face. I know obviously Tony Bellew had things to say, and he tripped David up a few times verbally, okay, which is cool, okay, and maybe David wasn't quite sure how to react, and he felt like he'd maybe said some of the wrong things, and the bullshit at the start about the bank robbery and all that sort of thing. But he did not look confident at all. You look at the face-off, he just looked, he didn't look interested. He looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. This is a press conference for a massive fight, live at the O2, box office. If he's genuine about his career and wanting to fight the likes of Anthony Joshua, he needs to go in and knock out Tony Bellew. But you just did not get that impression, and that's why I've got this feeling in the back of my mind that he's just in it to cash out. He's just in it to cash out. He's seen that this is easy money. I think maybe he had that injury, he had the surgery, and he decided, you know, I can get fit enough to compete, but I'm never going to be able to compete at the very highest level. But I can get fit enough to get in the ring, at least with Tony Bellew, and even if I lose, I'm going to get a massive payday. And we know everyone loves a massive payday. David Haye has been one of the best promoters, self-marketers in boxing in the UK, at least in recent years, and he knows how to get those pound coins out of everyone. So that is kind of my feeling. But on the other hand, I have to say that if David Haye is 100% fit and he doesn't suffer from a similar injury, I have to say that he will stop Tony Bellew in this fight. I know I said it in the previous one, but there were these circumstances that happened in that fight that we all know, okay? It wasn't a convincing victory from Tony Bellew because of the injury. If the injury hadn't have occurred and he had won, we can say, yeah, fine, he outboxed him, and he made him look old, he made him look slow. But that injury was massive. That injury was massive, and it was effectively the reason why the fight was stopped, okay? So we can't say that Tony Bellew was convincing. We can't say that he did what he said he was going to do. There were those circumstances that need to be discussed. But if both fighters go into it in shape and they manage to fight to their optimum that they are at this current level in their career, I have to say that David Haye will stop Tony Bellew, and I think it will be in devastating fashion. And it's as simple as that. As I said at the end of the start of the show, David Haye's speed, strength, it's going to be too much for Tony. And I don't think we can read much into the first fight if, and this is the big if, okay? This is the big if he is serious. If David Haye is serious about this fight, and this is the biggest if of everything. If he's serious, he can knock out Tony Bellew. If he's not serious and he's just in it for a payday, which is, we could say highly likely, we could see a relatively boring fight. So that's that. If you've got any comments on this, just hit me up in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new to this channel, remember, hit that subscribe button. Let me know you've subscribed, and we'll get to know each other in the comments section. So this has been Teekosey Boxing. I'll see you soon.